excited.
All right, we're rolling.
All right.
So Dave, tell me what's happening in professional sports when it comes to concussion and head injuries.
Head injuries is one of the most critical business issues for all sports. As we've seen, of course, in the NFL, which gets the most notoriety because it's the most popular sport, it's not only a business issue for the individual, but it's a business issue for the team, as well as the leagues and organizations. As we saw, for example, in the NFL, $1 billion settlement given for the lack of attention and awareness given to concussions. And so this issue is not going to leave us because right now the rules and the equipment are not aligned with what the critical business issues of concussions and head injuries really portray today.
So is this just an issue for professional sports, or is this something that people really should be aware of in the lower levels, for the amateur, for our kids?
It's actually a bigger issue for our children.
Why
right?
is that?
The brain isn't fully developed. And so we don't know all the time what those tears and damages that we're doing. It's also a greater number, right? I mean, the mass number of people or kids who play soccer, baseball, football, hockey, water polo, and I mention all those sports because those are all sports in cheerleading, in
right,
gymnastics.
Sports that nobody's thinking about.
And there's hundreds of thousands and millions of kids playing, although the biggest brands and profiles come from the professional sports. The real issue and the real messages are being sent to parents to make sure that they are watching and taking care of their children, because we do not want these late-term CTE issues to come up for hundreds of thousands of kids because they were unaware that they had a concussion or what to do when they get a concussion.
Right, and so the amount of media attention on this is absolutely crazy. You know, Brian Gumbel just did a huge report. What should parents be knowing or understanding about head injuries? So, because we're not going to stop them from playing, right? All the kids look at the professional athletes, and this is what they aspire to be. But what should parents know?
The first thing is to know is the importance of baseline testing.
What does that mean?
Baseline testing is a very inexpensive test to understand where the brain exists today on your child, right? Where the brain waves, and it's very inexpensive. There's so many different technologies out there and so many doctors that can give a test. Therefore, when any incident occurs that possibly could have caused a concussion, or at the beginning of every season, because sometimes it's just the repetitive, even tapping of the head that could cause it.
Right.
So a baseline will show any progression or any difference in the brain, either on a short-term athletic experience on the field or on the court, or in the long term, every year when you're starting a new season, they can see where that baseline is. And that precautionary measure, 99% of the time, will save your child from any permanent damage.
So what I thought, when I was looking at the facts that was going on of concussion, that really kind of blew me away, was that 39% of concussions happen in practice, not the actual game. And that was both in professional sports and amateur sports. Like, I had no idea. Why is that?
Absolutely. You get concussions in so many different ways. In fact, it's not just concussions though. That's why I believe in the baseline test is the best measure, because I could take your helmet, no matter what technology exists around here, and if I grab your head and shake it this way, I actually can cause some serious damage to your brain.
Without an impact.
Without an impact.
So I think that's misunderstood too, because
Absolutely.
people think it's on impact.
No, it absolutely is not. And then, like I said, small little doses of impact, like with linemen, as we've seen with like Durson and a lot of these other guys who have CTE and have killed themselves, were caused because they played in the league, 15 years, 4 years in college, 8 years as high school and beyond.
So even these guys, if they hit the court, they can suffer a concussion.
Basketball, absolutely, concussions is a huge issue. And it's not just hitting the court, it's hitting an elbow on your head, they're so tall, the backboard, or also just hitting each other, or even just a real hard jerk, because these guys are so big and strong, the inertia itself can cause tears. But if we're watching the brain and we give it time to heal, that absolutely.
There's no time to heal. We got another game, right?
Right,
There's no
or
time.
another play, worse, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And that used to be the problem, and now there's so many measures in professional sports. Whenever there is an inkling of a concussion, they have all these measures to make sure that that they're not putting people back in a risk.
Right, but there's no measurements for our kids,
No.
right? Because we don't have that type
No,
of support.
baseline testing. You're begging for volunteers to help. It's unfair to put the liability, responsibility on them to really understand, oh my gosh, this kid's concussed. But if you see and know the signs as a parent, right, of pupils being dilated, of the lack of lethargic behavior, being tired, or headaches, go get tested. right? And most importantly, the best thing you can do is at least rest until you find out. Do not tell your son he's a wimp or daughter she's a wimp
I think
and
that's
put them back
huge,
in.
right there. Parents supporting them to be able, because sometimes the parents are more aggressive about getting the kids back in. Rest is a wonderful tip.
Yeah, the whole rub dirt in it and go back out and play really isn't a great measure of responsibility today.
So we're also going to talk about a product that you got involved in. We're going to move to another location, but we're going to talk about the product that Dave has discovered that might be able to help you in concussions.